sold the idea that financial independence is all about some number on your account statement, or even worse, that you don't qualify because of where you started out. That's just not true. It's not about some well-kept secret of the wealthy. It's about finding the right information and knowing how to apply it. On the Get Ready for the Future show, we're answering your questions so you can start making real financial change today. The journey to true financial independence begins right here, and it starts with you.
Coming to you from the 6th floor of 3 Financial Center in West Little Rock, Arkansas, this is the Get Ready for the Future show. We are glad to have you along once again, wherever you get our show, whether it's on video or you're watching online, if you check it out later on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, wherever you get it, or if you're listening to the audio version on radio or podcast, however you grab it, we are glad that you are listening. And we are hoping, as we hope every week, that you get something out of it. We answer your questions on the Get Ready for the Future show, and the financial questions are all built around helping people achieve, or as we like to say, discover, protect, and share true financial independence. That's what we're about here at GenWealth Financial Advisors, and it's been a little while since we've kind of updated you on our firm. Tim Key's joining me today on the show, and Tim and I work here in the Little Rock office, but Tim, we are just cogs in the wheel, man. We are just part of this, what is becoming a rather large operation.
Yeah, we're just 2 of the 44 or so employees here at GenWealth. So, it's a love this place. It's a great place to work, and love 3 Financial Center. So come visit us.
Yeah, we don't want to move. We like it here at West Little Rock. Got a beautiful view of the Big Rock Interchange. But we have 6 offices in all now in Arkansas. 5 of the 6 are in Arkansas. We're in here in Little Rock. We are in Bryant, Conway, El Dorado, Hot Springs, and also in Bossier City, Louisiana. And as Tim mentioned, our team has grown to over 40 members. And we every day are helping our clients reach financial independence. And more specifically, what we focus on a day in and day out basis is retirement income planning. So what does that mean? Well, really, most of our clients are in their pre-retirement years, maybe 8 years out, 9 years out from walking away from work, or they're already in retirement, and they have built a plan, a collaborative plan with a financial advisor here at GenWealth to determine all of those assets they've spent a lifetime accumulating. How do they make sure that they last the rest of their lifetime? Because now they're going to start withdrawing rather than contributing, right? So we call it in the business going from accumulation to decumulation, or rather distribution. We don't necessarily want to decumulate, right? We want to distribute those assets in a monthly income stream that lasts the rest of your life. That's our goal, and that's really what financial independence is, living off of your own savings and incorporating that, Tim, and this is another big piece of the puzzle that we don't often see other advisors work with clients on, because I think they're focused so often on strictly the investment management side of the equation, and that is very important, but not only the income stream that your assets can produce and the investment strategy that goes along with that, but also incorporating your other income sources to figure out the maximized income strategy for you in retirement.
Exactly. Returns are important, and we definitely invest to get returns when the market gives them. But we really are more outcome-based. We want to make sure that, that check that you've been receiving while you've been working, and now you quit working, we need to replace that. And I think that's one of the big fears of a lot of people, and why they hesitate or maybe put off retiring, is because of that surety of that check coming in every 2 weeks or monthly or however often you get paid. So really being able to take what you've accumulated, what you're going to get from Social Security, a pension, bring those all together, and that's what we do for our clients. We bring those all together in a retirement income plan, and then we execute that plan for them so they don't have to worry about that throughout the retirement. So they're able to contact us however often they want. We're going to at least talk to them once a year, reposition things, just make sure that they're still on track so that they can enjoy the retirement that they deserve.
It turns, in many cases, your lifetime savings from a just-in-case retirement to a license to spend. Now, I hope you can let that sink in, right? Because it's on paper. You see the tracking of it. You see how much you can pull out on a monthly basis, and you can utilize those assets to have the retirement you want. We call it the GenWealth Ready to Retire process. And if you'd like to walk through it with an advisor here at GenWealth, the first step is just to contact us, and you can do it in one of a couple of ways. You can send us an email. You can send it to show@getreadyforthefuture.com, or really you can send it to Scott or Tim at getreadyforthefuture.com too. That really tagline is going to get you just about anybody at GenWealth. You can also call toll-free 866-653-PLAN. That number is 866-653-7526. And what that does is gets you in touch with the GenWealth Financial Advisor team member. It's going to be Anna Olive in most cases, who is our client introductory specialist, and she will get you matched with an advisor and set up an appointment either in the office, over the phone, virtually, however is most comfortable for you. And the first appointment is just a conversation. So there's no commitment on your part. Just come see what the GenWealth Ready to Retire process is about. That's all you're really committing to. There's no cost to that first appointment. So if you're in your pre-retirement years, or you're really knocking on the door, or even if you're in retirement, I would certainly encourage you to call that number or send an email and walk through the GenWealth Ready to Retire process. All right, enough about that. Let's get to the questions. Heath is our first question. He texted in this: I've been wanting to buy a house for a while now, but it just hasn't felt like the right time. With mortgage rates coming down, is now the right time to buy a house? We get that question pretty frequently, Heath, especially from our younger to middle-aged clients who are either looking for their first home or maybe their second home, and they see those interest rates or the mortgage rates. They are higher, relatively speaking. I always like to say they're actually average. The long-term average is right about where they are now, right? We've seen them much higher, but we have more recently seen them lower. But the thing I would say, Tim, to Heath, first of all, the right time to buy matters more on your personal situation than it does the overall economy. I really liken this, Tim, to there's always a reason not to invest. We say that a lot with the stock market. There's always a reason not to buy a house. But when you're looking at the overall economy, first of all, the unpredictable nature of it, we likely will see rates come down in the next year or two, but we don't know that. And the other part of that is the housing market. The housing prices are likely to continue to go up.
Yeah, we don't expect prices of houses to come down much, if any, and more than likely they're going to continue to rise. I mean, we've seen inflation, and the hottest part of inflation is still the living expenses, whether it's apartment living, house living, whatever it might be. That is still the driving force of our inflation right now. So there's a lot of factors that go into, is it time to buy a house? I think that, Heath was saying it just hasn't felt like the right time. Again, it goes back to your personal economy instead of the overall economy as well. So, what does your personal situation actually look like? Do you have money set aside for that down payment? Because we definitely don't want you to have to borrow 95 or 100% of what you're going to put into a house. So we definitely want to make sure that you do have a down payment that goes into it. We want to make sure you have some money set aside, really an emergency fund or something else, because when you become a homeowner, things go wrong.
Sure
Things break. The warranty only covers so much. And so, being able to make sure that you aren't going to have something that comes up that's going to pitch you into debt, whether it's replacing a stove, refrigerator, whatever it might be, a new roof. I mean, there's all kinds of things that insurance doesn't fully cover on that. So so you really have to look at your personal economy and see if it makes sense for you personally to buy a house. And I really wouldn't go into it with the interest rates. Yeah, the interest rates have kept some people or pushed some people down in price range. But if you find the house that's in your price range that you like, I would not wait for interest rates to go down. One of the things that we can always do a year or two later, if interest rates do come down, is to refinance. A lot of that happened over the last few years before interest rates went up. And so a lot of Americans are locked into low interest rates in that 2 to 3%, 2 to 4% range. And most of them aren't moving because of that. But there's a lot of reasons that you should go ahead and make that purchase if you personally, in your personal economy, are ready for it.
Yeah, so you mentioned the 20% down. I would certainly recommend having 20% down as a down payment. So you're going to have to know your price range, right? You're going to have to know what you're willing to pay for when it comes to the new house purchase. And we don't know if Heath owns his own home already. Is this a second home? If that is involved, then certainly knowing your equity that you're able to get out of selling that house and carry it over into the down payment of the new house can obviously make a huge difference on your mortgage. And then back to the price range part, I remember looking for my second house at the time, over 20 years ago, and my real estate agent telling me that you want to stretch that budget, you want to stretch that price, you want to stretch that mortgage because you're going to grow into it. And that did happen for me, but I don't know that I would use that advice today, because I would look at it differently. I would take a look at what is the immediate impact of that mortgage payment, knowing what that mortgage payment is. What is the immediate impact on your margins in terms of the difference between your income and your expenses? If you're increasing a mortgage or starting a new mortgage, how much is it going to pinch the difference between your income and your expenses? Because you don't want to get yourself spread so thin that you're not able to make new purchases on other things, which would require you to take out new debt on top of the new debt of a mortgage. It would also potentially make you want to scale back on retirement contributions, which we don't want to see anyone do either. We want you to make sure you're on track for financial independence, and make sure that the purchase of a new home doesn't derail that. And Tim, the only way to know if Heath is on track for financial independence is to build a plan.
Really, it all comes back to the plan about your budget, about your personal finances, what kind of margin you currently have, and what kind of strain is it going to put on your daily living. I mean, that's really, we want to make sure there's a balance there. I have known people to buy too big of a house, and the only thing they could really afford was the mortgage.
Yeah.
And there really wasn't even furniture in all the rooms, things like that. And I think, Scott, you did talk about growing into it. I think that was definitely true a number of years ago, and there's still a lot of, there's truth in that still, because that principal and interest payment, if you get a fixed rate mortgage, it is going to stay the same for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, however long that payment could last. But I think the big thing we've seen recently, and I've heard so much more, is on escrow payments. What are those taxes and what are those insurance payments doing inside that mortgage on that house? And we have seen insurance really take off in the last few years as far as the cost goes. And in my county, Saline County, they came out and reassessed the value of all the homes after they had the increase the last few years. And now we're getting caught with higher valuations on the houses. So our taxes are going up on the real estate. So we're not really seeing it stay steady. And we're still seeing a nice increase on that monthly mortgage once a year when they make those escrow adjustments.
Yeah. So those are a few things to think about, Heath. Again, working with a financial advisor, that should be part of what he or she does for you in building an overall retirement plan, a plan for financial independence, and how a mortgage fits into that, and a plan to pay off that mortgage at a date in the future. Thanks for the question. Hey, I want to tell you we've got some live events coming up this fall. We call them GenWealth Academy workshops, and there's a list of them at our website. But the next one we wanted to tell you about, we have coming up on September 17th at 6:30 at the Chenal Event Venue in West Little Rock. That's just off Chenal Avenue, just on the other side of the U.S. Pizza that's right off of there, across Chenal from the promenade. And it is about estate planning. It's called Protecting Your Family Through Estate Planning. We want to invite you out. It is a free event. You just need to sign up at getreadyforthefuture.com/academy. And if you see another event there that you're interested in, you can see them all there at that location and sign up and learn about estate planning or many of the other topics. We've got a Social Security coming up this fall, the Social Security workshop, also one on the 3 big retirement risks. So if you're interested in coming out and seeing us, hearing a presentation, again, it's free to attend. There's usually food involved. Come on out. Just sign up at getreadyforthefuture.com/academy. Our next question is from Jennifer in Little Rock. I'm 61 and trying to figure out the right Social Security strategy for me. I'm divorced, worked at my current job for 27 years, have $645,000 in retirement accounts, and as of right now, I don't have a date in mind to stop working. What should I do to get the most out of it? Social Security claiming strategy should be a part of your overall plan, too. A lot of advisors don't talk about that, but how it incorporates into your overall retirement picture is vitally important, and when to claim it makes a huge, or can make a huge difference. So 2 things here, Tim, as we get started that stand out to me that we need to address in Jennifer's question. She says she's divorced, and that is a component of looking into Social Security. And I don't have a date in mind in when she's going to stop working. So let's take those two things on.
So being divorced gives you some options, especially if you've been married for 10. If that marriage lasted 10 years, if that marriage lasted 9 years, 364 days, it doesn't count. But if you were married for 10 years and you are divorced, and in some situations not remarried, it depends on ages and things like that, there are some different strategies that can come into play. And I actually met with a client just earlier this morning that this falls into. He and his wife were married about 15 years or so, and they're divorced now. He's not remarried. He'll be 62 in November. And so he was looking at potentially starting Social Security. He's not working. And so he actually has the option, and Social Security will let you know what the benefits are, either claiming on his own earnings history and his own benefit, or he potentially can get a spousal benefit, which would be up to 50% of his ex-wife's earnings benefit at her full retirement age. It doesn't matter if she has started the benefit or not. He actually has that option available to him, and Social Security will actually pay him the largest benefit that he is eligible for. So he just has to alert them with the marriage license and the divorce decree proving that he was married to her for 10 years or more, and then the Social Security will be able to tell him what his best benefit is. So divorced folks do have some more options, and there's also the potential of that other spouse passing away at some point and getting a survivor benefit off that as well. So making sure Social Security is aware of all that, they will do the calculations and they will provide you the largest benefit possible. The other is if you're going to continue to work and you're going to make more than $22,320, and that's the limit in 2024, for every $2 over that $22,320, you're going to have to repay $1 of benefits if you are claiming Social Security. So if you continue to work and you have a good income, it really doesn't make sense to go ahead and start Social Security early. Either wait until you are full retirement age and start the benefit then, or if you retire before your full retirement age at 66 or 67, whatever that age may be based on when you were born, then you can go ahead and you can continue to work and claim when it is time to retire and get the best benefit for you.
Yeah, so just to be clear there, an early retirement or an earlier than full retirement age decision on Social Security can impact how much you actually receive from Social Security if you are working. So first of all, you have to know your full retirement age, and that's getting pretty settled science now because it used to go up on a monthly basis prior to people born before 1960, but now everybody born 1960 and later, it's age 67. So you can claim your benefit as early as age 62, but if it's sometime between 62 and 67, that penalty is going to affect your benefit. So if you are working and you make more than the amount Tim said there, $22,320, you're likely not going to want to claim it while you're still working. Now, we've talked about those two things in Jennifer's case, but when you think about how and when to claim Social Security, I do think Jennifer has to work on finding a date that she plans to stop working. So we're kind of in agreement here that as long as you're working, Jennifer, don't really claim it, at least not until you get to your full retirement age of age 67. Then it doesn't matter. The penalty doesn't apply, so then you could take it, but why would you if you're still working? I think it goes back to building an income plan that incorporates Social Security, any other additional guaranteed income sources that you may have, and then taking a look at those retirement accounts that you have. And currently you've told us that you have $645,000 in retirement accounts. And that's great news because that means you're not going to have to rely solely on Social Security for retirement. And that's a good nest egg, Tim, to really start looking at how much monthly income you could provide yourself from those accounts. And the fact that she's single means it's probably not a higher income than if it were two people. So I think we could really do a lot looking at that $645,000.
Absolutely. Through planning, we can help her potentially find that date that she wants to quit working. Maybe she doesn't have a date in mind because she loves her job and she just wants to keep working. That's great. Some people don't have a date in mind. They would like to say sooner than later, but they just feel like they need to continue working because they don't feel like they have enough. And so going through the planning process will actually help you identify and maybe give you that peace of mind that, yeah, we do have enough, or I do have enough of $645,000 in retirement accounts and the Social Security benefit. And what else does she have, or how much does she need? So we need to be able to answer those questions. And so that gives us the opportunity during the planning process to really nail down maybe a date that potentially she could retire. And then we always say that the plan is a living, breathing document. We know life happens and we get better returns than expected, or maybe the market goes the other direction, and we can identify where we need to get to. And that will also help determine, can we go a little bit earlier than what we had planned for, or maybe do we need to work another year or two after that. But working till full retirement age, especially for those that love their job, the decision really is, do I take my Social Security at full retirement age? There's no penalty to do that. Or do I go ahead and delay that until age 70, where it's going to increase by 8% per year? So it's a much larger benefit. And most folks, it probably makes sense if they're continuing to work to go ahead and push it off. And there's a couple different reasons. One, the largest benefit in a marriage, I know that she's single, but if you are married, that largest benefit will survive both of you. So it'll pass to the next one, to your spouse, and they will continue to get the larger benefit. So sometimes it makes sense to go ahead and take that larger benefit. But if you do have debts and things like that, you really want to knock out before you retire, taking that benefit at 67 or whatever that full retirement age is, and using that money to actually put toward debt and pay that debt off can also free up your income in retirement and get you there much quicker.
Jennifer, you are the question of the week. Thanks for reaching out. We'd love to send you a free Get Ready for the Future Show tumbler for being the question of the week. And if you'd like to claim it, just send an email to show@getreadyforthefuture.com, and we hope that we answered your question. Next on the show, it's Jocelyn from Benton, and she writes, can you help me figure out if I need an annuity? I'm 60, have about $905,000 saved for retirement and an extra $100,000 or so in an HSA. Oh, to annuity or not to annuity? Such an important question, Jocelyn, and there is so much confusion and noise out there with regard to annuities. There are so many different kinds, first of all. So we're going to walk through how our process works in determining if someone needs an annuity or not. So like in the previous question, the answer here is determined by planning. Many different kinds of annuities. We've seen them all, Tim. Some we use, some we don't. There are some that you don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole, right?
Absolutely.
At its base, on its chassis, an annuity is a tax-deferred investment vehicle. Basically, you're going to take you could take retirement dollars, but you could also use non-retirement money to purchase an annuity and keep the tax-deferred growth in play, or really acquire the tax-deferred growth just like you would in a 401k or an IRA. And you have that 59.5 age attached to it that you can't pull it out and use the funds until 59.5. The taxes on it when you withdraw it are at ordinary income tax rates on the gains if it's in a non-retirement account. And then when you get to the principal, you don't actually get taxed on it anymore. But annuities have become way more complex than that. There are also annuities that offer lifetime income riders on top of the annuity contract. And if your basic living expenses exceed your guaranteed income sources, lifetime income riders can be used to fill the gap. Now, let's talk plain English there. If you think about retirement as building a house, building your retirement income home, then the required income, the amount you need every month to pay the bills and have a basic lifestyle, is going to be the foundation of the home. If you're watching on video, you can see that right now. The foundation is pretty boring. Doesn't even look like a house, but it is the most important part of building a home, and it's the most important part of your retirement plan. So what we do in the GenWealth Ready to Retire process is determine what somebody needs to pay their monthly bills, and are their guaranteed income sources going to be enough to cover that? Because, Tim, we don't want market volatility. We don't want stock market performance to determine whether you can pay your bills.
We really don't want to put that at risk. We want to make sure that you have your dignity in retirement. Most of our, clients, there's two fears. They really don't want to run out of money, and they don't want to be a burden to their children. I mean, that's a couple of things that an annuity can actually, if the right annuity is purchased, can take care of. It can solidify that guaranteed retirement income, that mailbox money that we'd like to say, with your Social Security, maybe with a pension. And it's really, annuity is just a private pension. You're buying that yourself, instead of like maybe your parents did or grandparents did when they worked for a company for years and years and had a pension payment. So you have your Social Security, you're buying an annuity that's going to guarantee you a monthly check for the rest of your life. That's going to take care of your basic needs in retirement and really buy your dignity for you.
There are also annuities out there that do not have lifetime income riders, but can be useful to protect against market loss. They offer downside protection, varying degrees of downside protection against market losses, and they can also provide good upside potential if the market performs. In many cases, we've seen these come out in recent years where they're actually enhanced or accelerated participation rates, meaning you could actually outperform the market on the upside. So it can help manage risk, they can be used for growth, and they are a lower cost than the annuities that have the lifetime income riders. So those are options to be in someone's plan as well. But again, the planning dictates, or should dictate, whether or not, Jocelyn, you need an annuity. You need to know how long you plan on working. And I would say there are a couple of absolutes here. If someone tells you as an advisor, all annuities are bad, I wouldn't be listening to that. I would also say if someone tells you put all of your money in an annuity, I wouldn't listen to that. Walk out of that office as well, because this is not a magic bullet. An annuity is a tool. It can have a role in your plan, and the plan should be laid first, but it is not a magic bullet, and you don't need all of your money in an annuity, primarily because there are things to consider like cost, surrender periods. A surrender period is how long you're going to have to be in that annuity, and if you take the money out of the annuity prior to the surrender period being over, you can be penalized. You would be penalized. And knowing the underlying investments of that annuity matter too, from a cost perspective, and how those are going to function. So I wouldn't go into an annuity purchase without the help of a financial advisor. And we do have a disclaimer that we always have to release here. Annuities are insurance contracts that may carry fees, charges, and restrictions. You should consider the contract carefully before purchasing. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, and we've pretty much said that already. But when it comes to annuity, Tim, I think that people either love them or hate them, generally with their mindset when they first come in and start talking about them. But knowing what kind and how it can be used as a tool in your overall strategy certainly matters.
Yeah, I believe you should only invest in things you understand. And so if you have an advisor that can explain it to you in a way that you understand how it's going to benefit you, then again, I would say walk away. We had a client in yesterday that when we said something about, what are your thoughts on annuities? The initial response is, well, we really don't like them. And so what was behind that? And it was, their understanding was an annuity where, you put in $500,000 and you turn that over, you get a monthly income stream for the rest of your life. But then when your life is done, it's all gone. And we have not used annuities like that. So that's called annuitization, where you turn the money over to the insurance company. So if you lived a year and you passed away, they would actually keep the rest of the balance. We don't prescribe to that, and that's not what we would actually use, because we don't think that's in your best benefit. So even though your benefit may be a little bit higher on a monthly basis, it doesn't make sense to turn over and give up the hard-earned assets that you've been able to accumulate.
All right, time for one final question. We have just a few minutes left. Mark from Cabot. My wife and I just received an inheritance from her father. He left her over $250,000. We're currently in our early 50s and preparing for retirement, juggling kids' college expenses, and trying to live our lives still. We've currently got $800,000 between both our employer plans and an IRA, $175,000 or so left to pay on the mortgage, and around $45,000 in college expenses this year. how should we allocate this inheritance? Boy, you are juggling, Mark. You got a lot going on there. Let me say this to start. When lump sums enter someone's financial equation, it has the ability to make a huge impact one way or the other, depending on the decisions you make. So this is a great question, Mark, to get some help and some advice from a financial advisor. Determining how to allocate is a great question. And this is a question that a lot of people are going to face in the coming years. We know that $4 trillion is going to be passed on in the upcoming years from baby boomers to the next generation. So this is just beginning, and that great transfer of wealth can make a huge impact on the next generation. So let's talk about Mark's case. A lot of info here, but we usually answer a question with a few more questions. What type of an account is the inheritance in? Because this matters. He left her over $250,000, but are you going to have access to the full $250,000? Have the taxes been paid? Because that's where it matters here, Tim. Prioritizing begins by prioritizing your goals, but before we do that, we have to know the taxation that is going to be applied to this money.
Right. We're seeing more and more of this retirement inheritance being IRAs from the 401ks that maybe their parents accumulated, because that was really the first generation that really had the 401k available to them. So we're starting to see more and more of the inheritance be IRAs. And with IRAs, the good thing is you won't get the 10% penalty if you're under 59.5, but that income or every dollar you pull out gets stacked on to whatever other income you have. And so it can be a pretty big tax burden. So we like to identify maybe a strategy to pull that money out over a period of time just to minimize taxes, because you're going to probably lose, if it isn't inheritance through an IRA beneficiary, and probably 25 to 35% of that's going to go to taxes.
Yeah.
So you really wouldn't have the full $250,000. Now, if it's in a non-retirement account, you do have the full access to $250,000. Again, you have to look at what are you working with, and then really prioritize what is important to you to use this money for. It's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime situation. We don't normally get inheritances. I mean, it comes from our parents, and usually have two of them,
Right.
and usually the other one's already received the first one. So it's a situation that gives you a great opportunity to make a great impact to your overall financial plan, whether that's paying off debt or paying off the house, prioritizing the expenses for college, those types of things. But it is a great idea to sit down with someone and kind of bounce things off of them.
Yeah, I think looking at the other numbers you gave us, Mark, $800,000 in employer plans, $175,000 left on the mortgage, $45,000 college expense. Living in Arkansas, I'd say, assuming at your age that you probably are looking early 50s, maybe another 10 years or so before you're planning to retire. If you're currently contributing significantly to these accounts, you're in good shape. But it is important to build an income plan so you know where you're projected to wind up at your preferred retirement age. How much monthly income will those future assets provide? So you can find out if you're on track and if you need to use some of that inheritance to accelerate that. And then once you know that, could you use some of the inheritance to pay down or make progress on your mortgage? And is that your only debt, or do you need to hammer some more debt away? You could wipe out the mortgage, increase monthly cash flow, and potentially make college tuition payments as you go. So those are some thoughts. But again, working with a financial advisor and building that overall plan is really where you get those answers. Mark, thanks for the question. You heard the bell behind me. It's time for our final thoughts, and Tim, we'll start with you.
I'll piggyback off this last inheritance. I mean, getting a one-time lump sum, whether it's through an inheritance or whether it's an annual bonus, maybe it's a tax refund if we've overpaid. Those are opportunities that you can take, and you can identify some areas in your personal finances to really shore up. I mean, whether it's to pay down debt, whether it's to build up your savings for the emergency fund, whether it's to save for a down payment on a house, those are opportunities that you can really utilize those lump sums if you do them right and take the time to identify where they need to go and before you just let them go. Because it's so easy to see a savings account just deplenish real quickly if you start going on a shopping spree and really don't have a plan. So, have a personal financial plan, have a budget, and then be able to take those lump sums that you might happen to get every once in a while and really make a big impact on your finances.
I see what you did there. You didn't think we'd answer Mark's question fully.
Not fully,
we,
right?
We needed to spend a little more time on it. I like that. My final thought is a reminder. Again, we talked about it earlier in the show, but we've got some live events coming up this fall. And the next one is protecting your family through estate planning. It's a workshop on September 17th at 6:30 at the Chenal Event Center, or Chenal Event Venue. If you would like to register for that, it is free. You can go to getreadyforthefuture.com/academy for that and all our upcoming events. And that is all the time we have for this week's Get Ready for the Future show. Thanks for being with us. A reminder, if you have questions, we're here to answer them each and every week. You can call or text them to us at 501-381-5228. We'd love to hear from you, and we hope you join us again next time.
The GenWealth financial team is available to you 24/7 at info@getreadyforthefuture.com or call our offices at 866-653-PLAN. That's 866-653-7526. You should personally consult a financial advisor before making any investment, and no strategy can assure success. Securities offered through LPL Financial. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Independent Advisor Alliance. Independent Advisor Alliance and GenWealth Financial Advisors are separate entities from LPL Financial.